Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. We've just finished the Passover holiday. I hope everybody had a very enjoyable and meaningful Passover. I hope you found that your way to really liberate yourself, all of the constraints, all of the Mitzrayim of this world. The Parsha of this week, the Torah portion of this week, which follows Passover this year, is Parsha Shemini. And Shemini has many things, but towards the end of the Parsha, it talks in very great detail about the laws of Kashrut, telling the Jewish people what you can and what you cannot eat. What is the connection between that and the Exodus that we just went through, getting out of the slavery of Egypt? Certainly, there are those who mistakenly think that the laws of Kashrut have to do with health, that there were various diseases if proper precautions weren't taken. And the answer is that is absolutely not the case. It has nothing to do with physical health. There are two sentences at the end of the Parsha that put all of this in perspective. The first sentence, after enumerating all of these things, including swarming animals that creep upon the ground, says, Ki ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am the Lord your God. These kadishtem, you shall make yourself holy. Yisam kadoshim, and by making yourself holy, you will become holy. Ki kadosh ani, because I am holy. And then a couple of sentences later, it says, Ki ani Hashem, I am God, hamale eschem, who raised you up, brought you up. Be'eretz Mitzrayim, brought you up from the land of Egypt, liyos lachem lelohim, to be for you a God. Yisem kadoshim, and therefore you shall be holy, ki kadosh ani, because I, the Lord your God, am holy. There is a message that we can learn from this connection between just having finished Passover, having finished Pesach, and the Torah commandments about staying away from prohibited food. The use of the word hamala eskem, I brought you up, that is very unusual. Normally, when God talks about bringing the Jewish people out of Egypt, he uses the word hotzesi, I brought you up. This time he says hamala eskem, I raised you up. Now, you could on one sentence say, at one point you could say, well, hamala eskem means you are going up to a higher place. You're going to Eretz Yisrael, going to Israel, which was the highest of the places. But it's much more important than that. And it's much more than that. And as we know, the Torah gives us messages as to how we should live. The Netivot Shalom says that there are two different reasons for bringing the Jewish people out of slavery in Egypt. Now remember that during this slavery, we Jewish people had reached a level of depravity so low, talks about the 49th level, that it was almost impossible to get out of. So the Netivot Shalom says the first reason is to bring us out of that wickedness, of that evil, of that environment. But then he goes on, he says the second reason is that we shall be the Am Hanivchar, the chosen people. We shall be fit as Jews to be the chosen people. And the question is, how do the laws of Kashrut help us achieve that? The Holy Orach Chaim, Reb Chaim Attar, says that what God is doing is when he took the children of Israel out of the contaminated environment of Egypt, in which we were completely submerged, he said, God is bringing us to a status where he will protect us from becoming immersed again in the uh, depravity from which we've just escaped. And he says, on the other hand, if we bring Mitzrayim with us, we bring Egypt with us, we take the abominations that we had in Egypt, then we'll be like a sheretz. Sheretz is the one of the creeping, crawling critters that are mentioned just before these psukim, for these sentences. Sheretz crawls upon the earth, symbolizing that the reason that a human being walks on all fours and doesn't crawl on the ground is that even though the human being was created from the dust of the earth, the human being nonetheless has the ability to reach higher. He's connected with the higher spheres and is not relegated to the ground. And Hashem is telling us, I brought you out, Hamala Eschem, from Egypt. I raised you to be a holy people. And you can be holy by keeping these laws of kashrut. Now, what does the laws of kashrut have to do with being holy? Well, first of all, the exact positioning of the sentences that I just read, right after listing all of the things that you can and cannot eat, it mentions that I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt so that you can be holy as I am holy. The What is the way of reaching holiness? Netivot Shalom says, and he said it many, many times, we think that we can be a good Jew or a good person by only doing whatever the letter of the law requires. And then Netivot Shalom says, no. He says constantly, he says, the way to become a good Jew, to reach a higher level, is kadesh atzmacha b'ma shemuter lecha. Make yourself holy with those things that are permitted to you. God gives us many gifts in this world. We have wonderful food that we can eat. So the question is, when we eat this food, are we going to eat it like a glutton? Or are we going to eat it in a way that raises it up to a higher level, that recognizes that without our thanking God for every little thing, we are actually stealing from God, because all of the world belongs to God. And God has given us the ability to access it through making a blessing. What is the blessing that we do for a command, before we fulfill a commandment? It says, Baruch atah Hashem, asher kiddushanu mitzvosav, who has sanctified us and made us holy with his commandments. The purpose of fulfilling the laws of kashrut as well as the commandments is to make us holy. It is within us to take this message to heart. It is within us to live our lives not just according to the letter of the law, but beyond the letter of the law, over and above the letter of the law. Torah tells us, Aseh hatov hayashar, two commandments that are not explained as to what Hashem wants from us. Do what is good and what is upright. Do what is good and what is upright refers to that very concept of lifnim mishoret hadin, going over and above what is required of you. Even though you're not required to do something, you know that by doing it, you're going to benefit somebody. You're going to make somebody happy. You're going to put a smile on somebody's face. Those are things that we have to strive to do as Jews. Thank you very much for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, and we will talk to you, God willing, next week. Shabbat Shalom.